On today's Red Sox Rundown presented by Prize Picks, we are going to look at count them, 5 players that I think the Red Sox should lock down to extensions in the near future. I'm your host, Jack Lauderay. Thank you so much for watching. Before we get into this, though, we're getting down to the end of the season. Not a lot of time left. Sox, they had a series win over the D-backs, but still, they've kind of taken a step back since their really hot beginning of the summer. If you're still rocking with the Red Sox, all I want you to do is hit that like button. Show me that you're still a member of Red Sox Nation. Show me that you're back in the Red Sox no matter what. All right, let's start with probably the one that I think is the most obvious. It's Wilyer Abreu. Now, you do still have Wilyer for a few years of team control. He is a free agent after the 2029 season, so you still have 3 years left of control surrounding Wilyer, but he's been one of the best players on your team consistently over the last few years. In 2026 alone, he's already almost taken over his career high in home runs. These stats are a few days old, but still, he has 21 home runs, 123 OPS plus. Like, he has a resume of a potential superstar. He's been in the league for 4 years. Every year, you just look at his stats. They've gotten better and better and better. And add on top of that, he's already won 2 Gold Gloves and is probably going to win his 3rd Gold Glove this year. Add on top of all of the accolades that he's already garnered in his young career, you've locked down Ceddanne Rafaela through the 2033 season. You've locked down Roman Anthony through the 2035 season. You have 2/3 of your outfield locked down for into the 2030s already. Like, finish out your outfield. Because if you can finish out 1/3 of your lineup and it be your entire outfield, and you have 3 young, bona fide superstars in the making. Ceddanne's taken a massive step this year. We've seen Wilyer get better year after year. Roman, well, some people are a little shaky on him, and there have been some injury questions. The talent and the upside is still very much there. If you can lock down all 3 of these players, you are setting yourself up for a larger World Series window than you might have. Now, at the time of recording this, there's not been any reports of a Wilyer Abreu extension going down, any thoughts or concerns or anything like that. But I think they need to start making those moves. Will any of this happen until the offseason? Probably not. I would assume if an extension is going to happen, it's going to happen in the offseason. But I think Wilyer should be the number 1 player the Red Sox are trying to extend. Number 2 player they should try to extend is Payton Tolle. He will be a free agent after the 2031 season, so you do have still pretty substantial years of team control. But coming into 2026, where he's had to take a really big workload shift, he's been to task. He's been absolutely fantastic, done over 100 innings, over 130 strikeouts. Like, he has been just phenomenal. And can you imagine for the next decade, Garrett Crochet is your ace and your number 1 starter. Payton Tolle is your number 2. Are you kidding me? It's one of the best 1-2 duos in all of Major League Baseball. Payton Tolle is a guy that not only does he have that wicked fastball, he has the big frame, but he has substantially worked on and improved his secondary pitches as well. He has looked like a straight-up pitcher this year, and that was my biggest criticism of him last year, was he was acting more like a thrower and, relying too much on his fastball to where the secondaries needed a lot of improvement, and he did that. He has looked phenomenal this year. And after you've traded away Connelly Early, Anthony Eyanson, Kyson Witherspoon, Hunter Dobbins, Quinn Priester, Richard Fitz, David Sandlin, Tyler Uberstein, after you've traded away all of these players, you need your young guys in the rotation. Now, at this point, there have not been any talks. This comes from Tolle. He said, not at this point. I'll let my team and the agents take care of those conversations, whether they're supposed to happen and whenever they deem it necessary, but not at this point. But he said he would love to stay in Boston. He said, for sure, for Anthony being able to play for the next 7 years, 8 years, that's pretty cool. We're calling Boston home for now, for however long they want me to call it home. I think this one's an absolute slam dunk. He is going to be a mainstay in your rotation for years, and I think they should lock up Payton Tolle to an extension before he gets too expensive. Would you extend Payton Tolle? Answer that question for me down below in the comments. It's going to be the pinned comment on today's video. Type E for extend, type D for don't. You play Craig Breslow and you let me know, would you extend Payton Tolle? And while you do, we're going to tell you about today's sponsor. That is our good friends over at Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app, and the place I love to go when I am playing daily fantasy sports. To make a lineup, it is super duper simple. All you got to do is select more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you can cash in. And they got a brand new user offer, folks. If you use code HMA when you sign up, you can get $150 in lineups if you win your first $5 lineup. Here's an example of a lineup that you can do. It is a season-long lineup for both professional and college football. That's the great thing about Prize Picks. You can mix and match sports, and they've got season-long projections. I'm going more on Jordan Marshall's 9.5 rushing TDs. I'm going more on Caleb Williams' season-long passing yards, and I'm going more on Drake May with 3 rushing touchdowns. One more time, we have a new user offer, guys, and it's a new offer altogether. If you play your first $5 lineup, you can get $150 in lineups. If you win, you just got to use code HMA when you sign up. That is right, folks. You heard that correctly. Prize Picks just switched up their offers. There's no better time to join, lock in, and win that first lineup. That's code HMA at sign up to get $150 in lineups when you win your first $5 lineup. So continuing on with the theme of young starting pitchers, Jake Bennett. I think Jake Bennett is another really great extension option for the Boston Red Sox. You finish out your outfield with Wilyer Abreu. You solidify your rotation. You've already got Crochet. You've already got Ranger Suarez. You get a solid, 3 and 4 in Tolle and Bennett, and you're looking really, really good for the future. Now, Bennett has more team control than anyone we've talked about so far. He's not a free agent until after the 2033 season, so there is a little bit of time to wait and see how Jake Bennett pans out. But so far this year, he's been absolutely fantastic. He's got an ERA just south of 3.5. He has 61 strikeouts to 17 walks in 80-plus innings of work. He's been absolutely phenomenal. The biggest issue I have, and again, rookie year, hasn't had a lot of time. He's adjusting to the major league level. I don't think the Red Sox expected him to eclipse 80 innings this year. I don't think when they made that trade with involving Luis Perales last year that they were going to expect him to throw 80 plus innings and get to that probably 100 inning mark by the end of the year. I don't think they expected that, but there are concerns about the workload. Can he keep it up? They obviously did a bullpen game last week to help subvert that a little bit because it did seem like he was starting to wear down a little bit. But again, I don't think we were expecting to have the injuries that we had. And then you trade away Connelly Early. That's more depth. They've needed Jake Bennett to step up. He has, he stepped up to the plate a majority of the season. The biggest thing I'm going to be looking for is how he finishes out the year. If he can finish out the year relatively solid and show that he can take on the workload, I'm pretty good with, maybe starting the convos about a potential extension. The thing is, this would not be my #1 extension candidate, and the reason why is because you do have those years of control until 2033. So this is one that I think they should explore, but not at the top of my list at all. Of course, Wilyer and Tolle are at the top of my list. 2 more people on offense. The first one is Adley Rutschman. This one is fairly obvious, I think. You traded for him at the deadline. He's going to be a free agent after next season, and you traded away an absolute haul. You got back Adley Rutschman and Jake Rogers. Jake Rogers has since been DFA'd. You trade away Anthony Eyanson and Kyson Witherspoon, your top 2 pitching prospects. You also trade away Andy Azakar, was another top 5 prospect in your system, along with Carlos Narvaez and Harold Rivas, who was another highly regarded prospect in the Red Sox system. You traded away a haul to get Adley, and you need to extend him. You need to extend him. Now, everyone was fairly negative at the beginning of his tenure. He did not play very well, but in that series against the Arizona Diamondbacks, he finally came to life. He had multiple, really high-level at-bats and big-time swings. He had his first home run as a member of the Red Sox. He also had multiple hits for RBIs that helped propel the Red Sox to a series win. He showed that he was deserving of being here, but you've got to extend him. I think if you let him walk after the 2020 season, that trade's probably going to be seen as a failure unless you win a World Series. Unless you win a World Series in the next 2 years, and Adley's a big part of that. If you let him walk and you're not competitive, that is a failure of a trade because you traded away 3 of your top 5 prospects plus a major league caliber catcher and another highly regarded prospect. You've got to lock him down. I understand people have their doubts. There is an injury concern there. I totally understand. But the offensive upside is there. He is an elite defensive catcher, something that, you don't really have. Narvaez was good. He was above average. Adley is in the 99th percentile of defensive catchers. He is the elite of the elite defensive catcher. And then he's got the pop. He's got the profile for Fenway. He's also a switch hitter, which adds a lot of versatility to your lineup. I understand the injury concerns. That's always going to be something in the back of my head. But in sports, injuries happen all the time when you least expect them. That cannot be a reason why you do not extend somebody. So I am all in for extending Adley. I think you have to. If you don't, we're going to look back on this trade in the next few years and say, my God, what did Breslow do? It would be a very big disappointment. Unless they win a World Series. If they win a World Series, this conversation all changes. But if they don't and they let him walk, that's going to be a big mistake. I want to ask you guys this question. Have you lightened up to Adley Rutschman? Again, it was a very negative first week or so because he just was not performing. He did not perform on the road trip at all, but it's not saying much because none of the Red Sox players performed on the road trip. It was really, really negative road trip for Boston. But then they got back to Fenway and he started producing. So have you lightened up on Adley? Type L if you like him or type D if you don't like him. You let me know down below in the comments. Of course, you guys know where I stand. I'm very high on Adley and his upside, but you let me know down below your thoughts. L for like, D for don't like. Have you lightened up on Adley Rutschman? Last but not least is Caleb Durbin. I think if you're talking about young, foundational pieces for this team, I think Durbin slots in perfectly there. He's a free agent after the 2031 season, so you do have a few years of control that you can work with, but still something you should consider. And the funniest thing about this, and I actually want to look up his current numbers because, again, these numbers are a day or two old, but remember at the beginning of the year when everyone said he was horrible and terrible and they need to DFA him and he's going to be crazy? Well, he has now surpassed most of his stats from last year. Last year, he is 2 points below his batting average from last year. Last year, he batted .256. This year, he's batting .254. He has a higher OPS than he did last year. Last year, he had a 721 OPS. This year, he has a 727 OPS. Last year, he had a 101 OPS plus. This year, he has a 105 OPS plus. He has more home runs than he had last year. He has more RBIs than he had last year. He has more walks. He has 2 less stolen bases. He has almost an entire point of WAR higher this year than he did last year. That is just, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible that he has been able to turn around what was objectively a bad start of the season to be one of the best producers on this team this year and go over the stats that he had last year where he finished third in National League NL Rookie of the Year voting. It's been a fantastic turnaround, and it makes my heart flutter every time I think of the fact that Cal, the guy that was harassing me on Twitter for saying that Caleb Durbin was good, has since deleted his Twitter account. It just makes me happy. It makes me smile. But I'm very happy that Caleb Durbin has turned it around. He's also been fantastic at third. I know a lot of people had doubts that he would be at third. They thought he would slot over to second. He's been phenomenal at third this year. It just makes me happy that it worked out because I was very excited about Caleb Durbin in spring training. I thought he was going to be a stud, and he has turned into a stud. Breslow knocked this trade out of the park. Just got to give him credit. Got to give him a tip of the cap. You bring in him, you bring in Andrew Monasterio, you bring in Anthony Siegler, all of whom have contributed at some way, shape, or form this year. Like, tip of the cap to Craig Breslow. He's been fantastic. Caleb Durbin has the potential to be a cornerstone of this infield for years to come, and you honestly probably could get him for pretty cheap too. Like, I think you could lock him down to a fairly sizable extension that's not that expensive because Contreras in the next few years his career is probably going to be over. He's probably going to retire. Trevor Story's got a year left on his deal. He's probably gone after this. What does your infield look like? You're going to have Franklin Arias at short. That's the assumption. I think you've got Caleb Durbin at third, and then, you figure out what you do at second and what you do at first. Like, there are options there, but, you'll see. But I think you should lock down Caleb Durbin, make him a cornerstone of this infield because you've got Adley behind the dish, Durbin at third, Arias at short. And then you've got Roman, Cedon, Wilyer in the outfield. with Crochet, Tolle, Ranger, and Bennett. That sounds pretty good to me, if you ask me. And then you've got to figure out the bullpen. Some other potential extension candidates might be a Whitlock or a Slayton, a Tyron Guerrero probably as well. But if you lock down some of these young players for years and years and years to come, that team looks pretty damn good. So I think that they should look at bringing in Caleb Durbin to an extension as well. I think if you extend all 5 of these players, along with who we've already mentioned, the Romans, you've got the Sedans, you've got the Crochets and the Suarezes. Like you've got these guys, you've got this core that can compete for World Series for years to come. I'm very high on the future of the Red Sox. I think there are moves that they need to be made to really thrust them over the edge. But I think if you can land some of these young guys to cheap extensions, that would be a really, really a step in the right direction for Craig Breslow and for the future of the Boston Red Sox. That's it, guys. That is my list of 5 extension candidates for the Boston Red Sox. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Let me know a player that you think the Red Sox should extend. And make sure you hit that subscribe button if you have not already. Our goal by the playoffs, which is at the end of September, is 15,000 subscribers. We're a little bit of a ways away, but that doesn't mean we cannot try. So if you've not already, hit that subscribe button, join the family today, help us get to 15,000 subscribers as soon as possible. And until next time, go Sox.